Friends, it's T-Man, and I have found a very beautiful video to react to today. It's a new video posted here on this channel called Lynn Nigugi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. So Lynn Nigugi or Nigugi. Nigugi. So Lynn Nigugi. Lynn Nigugi in this video, she says how Africa's poor man's foods became Europe's expensive superfoods. Interesting. I saw part of the video. It's great.
Look at this table. I mean, guys, look at this table. Look at it in a deep way. Majority of what you see here was once mocked, dismissed, and laughed at. These foods that you are seeing here were called poor man's food. I mean, here in Kenya, Swahili would say chakula ya wamaskini. Our ancestors were shamed for eating them. Colonial officers...
I wouldn't doubt that. Slave food diet. That's why. It's survival food. That's why they were shamed. Because they weren't eating their natural diet in Africa.
Killed them as dirty, backward, and very, very disgusting. Imagining...
So these Dutch, they found it backward, disgusting, and terrible. Okay, well, yeah, some Europeans found it. Definitely, I would too.
They would maybe take a look at something like moringa. This is moringa powder. And they would smell it and be like, oh my God, that's very disgusting. What is that? Disgusting, you know? Yet today, these foods are sitting in healthy stores or health stores across Europe and America with shiny labels that read superfood.
Right, they call that marketing.
Can you imagine the irony of finding something like teff here from...
You know, the irony is this. I mean, they just keep coming out with more and more fake foods, and people, they eat them. They'll put anything in their mouth, humans, man. You know, providing to them, it tastes good, so they try to make it taste good. It's incredible, these toxic foods, but what would they do to make it taste good? Well, they use some specific ingredients to make these foods even taste good, even if they taste bad. They add like salt or sugar to it, and then you go, this tastes good. Meanwhile, you're just tasting drugs like sugar or salt.
Ethiopia. This thing was just a humble grain used for injera in Ethiopia. But now it's been sold in London for 10 pounds a kilo as a gluten-free miracle. Gluten-free miracle.
Incredible.
What happened to their gluten wheat? Now they're selling these things very expensive in Europe. You know, 10 pounds. Do you know how much that is for a kilo? Our baobab, I could not even find baobab, guys. This was just an amazing fruit that children chewed in the village. Now, it is powdered and bottled in Europe as a premium antioxidant drink. For new, guys, you'll just have to see that one on your screen. Once dismissed as the hungry season food in West Africa, is now paraded in Paris restaurants as a gourmet delicacy. And Hoodia, one that I could not even find, a cactus the sun used for centuries to suppress hunger, was patented in South Africa and even licensed to Pfizer in the US, pitched as the next billion-dollar appetite suppressant drug. Guy, do you...
That's incredible, man. Wow. See business.
See the irony? The same crops that once fed us in silence, foods that we were told to abandon, are now celebrated globally. Not because the world suddenly respects Africa or African food, but because someone figured out how to patent, rebrand, and profit from them. And we will get to how they even patented some of these foods. And while Europe and America are cashing in on our heritage, Africa's dinner plate has been dominated by one crop that is not even ours. Don't worry. We'll talk about this in a while, but let me bring this crop here. Yeah? This table is gonna be full by the time we are winding up. Huh? You see, this crop was not even ours. And it did not come here to nourish us, but to control us. And we are talking about maize. When
Maize.
this maize,
Wow, maize. Yes, exactly. It wasn't to nourish them, it was to control them. That was the biggest slave food on the planet, maize.
it's grinded. This is the product. You have your flour here.
This shit's incredible, man, what it can do to you. It can destroy you.
When this flour is used to make a meal, some people will call it ugali, pap, saza, nsima. I don't know what you call it in your nation. In Kenya, people call it ugali. I know in South Africa, it's pap. South Africa or Zimbabwe, I don't know. One of them, it's pap. Now, this is the daily food for millions, ugali. But here is the uncomfortable truth. This maize right here is not even African. It was born in Mexico thousands of years ago. The Portuguese brought it here in 1500s, not as a gift, but as a tool. Maize was actually...
That's why that was the downfall of the Mayan civilization and Aztec civilization. This caused the downfall of those civilizations because they were always wondering, what happened to these civilizations? Where did they go? They abandoned these cities. They abandoned them because they were destroyed. It destroyed them. This maize had destroyed them.
Food for slaves.
Yes.
And they loved it because maize was very cheap, fast growing, and produced bulk calories. Not nutrients, bulk calories.
You hear that? Bulk calories, not nutrients. And slaves loved them. I don't know if they loved it, but they were definitely fed it.
That they could store and ration out. It wasn't more nutritious. In fact, our own crops.
Yes, it was more destructive than nutritious, yeah.
Let me put that there. Our own crops, the sorghums here, the millets over there, fonio, African rice, I could not even find African rice again, were far richer in iron, zinc, protein, and very resilient. But maize...
But the problem is you can't digest any of that food. It's very difficult.
Fit the colonial agenda. It was easy to grow in bulk, easy to mill, perfect to feed enslaved Africans on ships, and later African laborers in mines and plantations. Now, by the 1800s, colonial governments actively pushed Africans to abandon indigenous foods. Maize was marketed as the modern staple food, while our real foods were mocked as primitive. Yet it filled stomachs, yes, but it also left people empty of nutrition. And here's why. This maize is mostly starch with very little protein, and the vitamin niacin is locked inside, unusable by the body. Now in Mexico, people cooked it with lime and ash. You know, when I found out that, I was like, I've been actually cooking maize my whole life, and I never knew that you are supposed to even cook it with lime and ash. Did you know that? This is a process called nixtamalization, and it was meant to unlock the nutrients. But that knowledge never came to Africa. Africans, I don't know if it's me or it's you who is watching. If you've ever put ash and lime in your maize, let me know. Because that knowledge...
I suggest none of you eat any of that. Don't even try doing that. Just don't eat it. Eat your natural diet. Carnivore, animal, raw diet.
Never came, and if it came, not so many people know about it. So when we began relying only on maize, a hidden killer followed, and this killer is pellagra. Pellagra was called the disease of the 3 Ds.
I've heard of that. It's almost like, what do you call it? Leprosy or some shit, right?
First, dermatitis. These are just painful rashes across the skin. Then diarrhea, you know what diarrhea is. Yeah. And then dementia. But finally, we have the 4th D, and this D is death. Death, yeah. In South African mines, where black workers lived only on...
That's like vegans, they die on the vegan diet.
...on maize, porridge, etc., etc. Yep, pellagra spread like wildfire. Men were covered in sores, too weak to work. Some were even losing their minds. In Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania, colonial...
Man, I'd lose my mind too if they took away my meat. And I had to eat that crap, man, that slave food.
Describe villages where children's skin peeled and mothers slipped into
shit.
madness. This thing made our people go mad. This maize. Now, fast forward to today, Africa grows nearly 100 million tons of maize a year. 100 million tons of maize, you hear? But this is still not enough for the 1.4 billion of us. So whenever drought hits, we import millions more tons, mostly from the US or Brazil.
Tired of constantly switching between
Millions more tons, mostly from the US or Brazil. And here's the absurd part. In those countries, 60% of maize feeds animals. 30% goes into biofuel, and barely 10% touches a human plate. Guy, like as we eat this every single day, to them it's eaten by animals, or it goes to biofuel, and only 10% of it makes to their own tables. But us, we are consuming it every single day. Up north, their maize feeds cows and cars, but here it feeds our children, and yet it's never enough. That's not just hunger, that's dependency. It's control.
Yeah.
Now, I know you saw something else here that looked like maize, but this is not maize. This is sweet corn. This is sweet corn.
Yeah.
And of course, both of them may be maize, but the story of how they are grown and consumed exposes a deeper injustice in global food systems. In the West, particularly the United States, Canada, and many parts of Europe, sweet corn is the variety reserved for human consumption. You see, us here we eat this, them they eat this. This here is loaded with vitamins, fiber, and antioxidants.
The funny thing is you can't absorb any of that. You just shit it out. I don't even know how much you could possibly absorb from it. Who knows? But it would be very little. And they're toxic, man. They're filled with oxalates and other toxins. They're heavily sprayed with like glyphosates, I don't know, fungicides, who knows?
It is treated as vegetable, a healthy addition to their meals, and is widely available.
Yeah.
They put it in cans.
They put it in just about everything.
They freeze it, or even fresh. Field corn, this here, on the other hand, is a starchy, heavy variety with far less nutritional value. Grown mostly, as we said, for livestock feed, biofuels, and industrial uses.
Right, livestock feed, that I know for sure.
In those same
Industrial.
Western nations. Now, this imbalance here reflects more than just agricultural choices. It mirrors a deliberate divide. The West reserved sweet corn, the sweeter, healthier, more nourishing maize for themselves, while promoting field corn in Africa. A variety never intended
to poison you, man, to further poison you. Not the fact that they're not poisoning themselves in North America with that, but not as much as maize. What maize does is just destroys people.
Be the foundation of human diets.
Yeah.
Now, what feeds animals in the West became the food of millions of people in Africa.
It's crazy.
A telling sign of how global food politics often place profit and control above nutrition and equity. And then
Yes, and that's going to be the downfall of all these the entire civilization on this planet. Again, like it's been a downfall in the past. These foods will be the downfall of everybody on the planet eating this crap.
you will see, even in our
Because now they're eating it. They're not eating it seasonally. They're eating it all year round now. That's the difference. That's why you can see the collapse has already started.
schools, what happens, guys? Maize, ugali, githeri, etc., porridge. This is what we feed our children, even in school.
It's garbage.
Right? Now, let's go to something
No
else.
wonder why they don't function well in school in Africa. These poor kids, they can't do well. Like, society can't do well if it's malnourished. The malnourished society is a very poor society. You know, health is everything on this planet. The better your health, the more you can function, the more you can make money, the more you can do a bunch of things. That's why I always say health is everything. If you don't have health, you got nothing. Forget about money, forget about profit, forget about anything. If you don't have health or intelligence, bro, you're gone. You're finished.
For thousands of years, West Africans cultivated, let me just put this maize there. I'm even allowed.
You know, even in North America, there's this crazy religion called veganism. They'll put profit and the destruction of the environment and humans and everything ahead of humans, ahead of humans. They don't care about human life or health. They don't give a shit about that. They only give a shit about their agenda, and their agenda is destructive to humans, and they're sadistic. They probably enjoy that. They want to see humans fucking be destroyed. You know, you get all these people that keep coming, these religions that pop up. It's all they want to do.
Allergic to maize right now. That kind of maize. I guess I'll just put.
I was surprised I found this channel. This lady's really intelligent. This is a very interesting video.
I'll just reserve the corn. Now, as I was saying,
The thing is with Africa, you know, African people are not bad people. They've been so destroyed by Europeans and North Americans and stuff over centuries now. You know, they're just been like completely like fucked up. If they could be left alone, they probably live a normal life. But because they're constantly enslaved or, you know, used for their resources, and, you know, this constant enslavement is incredible. Just destroys societies, erodes the infrastructure. The entire society is just fucking decimated because of these people. I think maybe that's why North America, Europeans hate the Chinese that are coming in there, because they don't really get involved in any of those things. They just build infrastructure and stuff. Of course, I mean, Chinese do things that they have to get paid for their work. You know, nobody works for free, but North Americans, they just suck Africa dry. They don't leave anything behind. They don't build anything. There's no infrastructure, nothing. That way they can keep sucking from Africa, if they can keep them, you know, in the Stone Age, right? And keep them sick by eating this slave food diet. You know what happens when societies start eating meat, right? They stop eating slave food diets.
West African countries cultivated their own African rice. It was very nutritious, and it breaks my soul because even when I was looking for African rice,
It's not nutritious. No plants, no rice is nutritious, has arsenic in it. That can't be nutritious. The toxins found in these foods are not nutritious. So there you go. It cannot be nutritious if it's toxic. Doesn't matter what's found in there. If it's toxic, it's not nutritious. Meat is not toxic.
I could not be able to find African rice. You know what I found? This is what I found. This is what is easily accessible. This rice right here.
Yeah.
This one came with the colonial traders. This is the Asian white rice. It looks very clean, modern, but the polishing has stripped away its nutrients and fiber. What is left here? Starch, empty calories. This is what is left in this bowl. And then the irony, as I said,
A lot of people tend to eat that. It's crap. But whatever, it's crap anyways.
you will not be able to even find African rice in our markets. African rice was very ridiculed. It was termed backward, and slowly it disappeared from our own diets and even our own farms. Today, Africa eats of
People control societies by with the food that they eat. That's how they control everybody around the world. These elites, they control society by feeding them the slave food diet. This makes a lot of sense what she's saying here, but that's the truth. That's how they control people, by feeding them these foods, by keeping them weak, by keeping them sick.
over 40 million tons of rice a year. But again, we
And keeping them stupid, because this food makes you stupid. It keeps you from becoming intelligent.
produce less than half of that. Billions of dollars are leaving Africa every year to buy rice from India, Thailand, and Vietnam. Meanwhile, our farmers remain poor and our heritage grain is almost forgotten. I dare you, try and go find African rice. Please, and when you find out where you can buy it, let us know on the comments section, because this rice will fill our stomachs. By the way, when you eat it,
That'll fill your stomach all right, but it'll make you sick. It's just glucose and arsenic in there. But I mean, Africans have a lot of animals, man. They can eat animals. There are Africans. They tend to. If you see this guy, what was his name? Yves, Kino Yves. He's a guy that drives through Africa on a tricycle or something. He stops. You see him stop on the side of the road, like in Africa. There's so many places he stopped by. They have lots of meat. They barbecue. They make a lot of meat. They have a lot of meat available, man. He stopped every time he ate. It was incredible. They do eat meat in Africa. A lot of meat. A lot of these countries still eat a lot of meat. They're healthy, but these people that are eating this kind of food, they're controlled. They're slaves. They're sick. They're weak.
you feel full.
I mean, it reflects in Africa because you can see the difference between regions that eat natural food and unnatural and this kind of food, whatever. You can see it, how it reflects on them physically.
But it drains our pockets, it weakens our health, and also erases our history. This is rice without a soul for African people. This rice has no soul. Zero.
Yeah.
Now, long before cassava and maize arrived on our shores, Africa had her own roots, yams. You know what was easier? Scholar, maybe pass me these cassavas. The easiest part was how quickly we were able to find cassavas in our markets, but we could not find yams. These are cassavas. We'll talk about them in a few. Now, in West Africa,
I know you enjoy.
in West Africa, yams were not just food. And I hope you can be able to see the image of yams in your screen or on your screen.
Shit, I hate yams. I know people in Dominican Republic, they eat this shit.
Yams were identity. For
Real slave food, dude.
thousands of years, communities cultivated them, and when harvest came, entire villages would gather for the new yam festival. Can you imagine there were festivals dedicated to yams? I hope
believe
they
it.
are still there in West Africa.
Yeah.
Yams were very sacred. They symbolized wealth, fertility, and status. A man's worth could
What? They did? They symbolized that? That's incredible, man. Fertility and all that. I don't think so. Probably lost their fertility. I think the only thing that sustained them was the meat that they ate.
actually be measured by the
The
size
animal products. They'd be dead already.
of his yam ban or the amount of yams he has, you know. Families roasted them, boiled them, pounded them into whatever it is that they needed to do the fufus, and they shared them with pride. But then came the colonizers who dismissed yams as backward, as the food of peasants. They brought this rice and wheat
I
as
love that. The food of peasants, and yet they gave them worse peasant food to eat. My God.
symbols of progress. And slowly, the very crop that once defined our dignity was reduced to poor man's food. And yet, yams remain richer in nutrients than cassavas. They are more sustaining than this white rice. And
What nutrients? I don't understand this. They're anti-nutrients. They're anti-nutrients, so just defeats the purpose. But okay, whatever.
more African than any food the colonizers forced us onto. Now, to forget yams is to forget
Yeah,
ourselves.
they just forced you on more toxic food. In other words, those foods are toxic, but they forced you to eat more toxic food like arsenic, latent in this stuff, and glucose. Like there's nothing in it, just sugar and arsenic. I'm sure in the cassava there's something in there, but again, it's anti-nutrients, so it doesn't really matter. regardless.
to forget our identity. Higher, let me get the Warus. My Waru people, where
There's different kinds of toxins in there.
are you? Because I got news for you. Nyandarua people. Waruza Nyandarua. By the way, is Kaveve Kazoze. Where is she? Here, Irish potatoes. This is what we call Waru in Kenya.
You know, my African friend said to me, "Oh, we eat Irish potatoes. They kept us healthy. They fed it to us and to make us healthy. Irish potatoes, they don't make you healthy, man." Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, in the bodybuilding world, they'll use a starch. So they'll use like potatoes as a starch because it's, I guess, out of the all of the starches, it's the safest, you could say. But nobody knows. When it comes to long-term use of this stuff, it's definitely going to destroy you. That's for sure. Yeah, man. So yeah.
This was never ours. This was never ours. Did you know Waru was never ours? Okay, this was born in South America, taken to Europe by Spanish ships.
Yeah.
Spanish ships. Ships.
Yeah, it came from South America, and they brought it on Spanish ships and brought it to Europe, and I guess eventually made its way all over the world, made its way and even Africa.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm just laughing because. Okay, guys, stop it. Just that one. Spanish ships.
Spanish ships.
Okay, and only came to Africa through colonial settlers. That alone tells us it is a colonial food, not part of our indigenous heritage. Yeah, potatoes can be boiled, fried, or mashed, however you make it. But that is where it ends. They were never sacred in our culture. They actually never carried any meaning, and they also carry no nutrients.
Yeah.
They are meaningless, nutrients.
Starch.
We're looking for 500.
Man, I love the Warus.
I love these people, man. They don't carry any nutrients. Well, what carries nutrients? Meat is not deficient in any nutrients. Animal products are not deficient in any nutrients. Yeah.
But they never carried any meaning the way Yams did, or tied us to the land the way other parts of our foods did. These Warus were simply a cheap colonial crop.
True. I have an African friend. She is from Ivory Coast, and she eats seafood. She eats a lot of seafood. That's actually, if I look in her fridge is empty. All the seafood is in her freezer. She has a frozen seafood in there. That's where she keeps the majority of it. Now, some would be in the fridge if she's ready to make it. She would move it from the freezer to the fridge, whatever, and yada yada. But that's all she eats is fish, and she drinks water. Well, filtered water. She drinks city water, which is bad. Filtered city water. Ugh, that's gross. That could probably be causing her some problems, I don't know, in showering in it. But other than that, she looks really young for her age because she eats seafood, a lot of it. I don't know why I never recognized it years ago when I met her. I was like, maybe I should have did the same thing that she did, because I remember her telling me, she says, "Oh, you're looking old, or you're looking bad, or you're looking like this or like that." You know what I mean? Yeah, because the food that you eat ages you, makes you look like shit. But now I've gotten so much better because I learned my lesson. I don't want to look like the mummy.
Introduced to keep people fed and dependent on what the colonizer controlled. And
Over time, this will cause you to become dysfunctional. Your mitochondria will become dysfunctional, and you get these chronic diseases, and you'll walk with a walker and a whole bunch of stuff. You won't be able to move properly.
history proves their weakness. In Ireland, when people relied on potatoes alone, a single disease wiped them out and left over 1 million people dead. Those are facts, guys. Compare now these things to
I believe that.
Yams. Yams are very diverse, resilient, and they are also celebrated in festivals. They are stored in barns as symbols of wealth and identity. So while Waru is very popular today,
Wealth and identity? Well, amongst the elites, I don't think they're eating that. They're eating steaks. That's animal products raw. That's among them. Yeah, not that.
we must be honest.
Meat is associated with wealth.
This is a colonial food. It fills the stomach, but it cannot replace what yams and other African roots gave us, both nutrition and identity-wise. Even in nutrients, the difference is very clear. Yams carry more protein, more fiber, and more long-lasting energy. They are food for both body and spirit. Waru's potatoes, on the other hand, are mostly starch, burning out quickly and offering little to our bodies. One will definitely fill the belly for survival. The other, yams, sustain a people with strength and dignity. This is why yams were wealth and waru was just a colonial filler. My Nyandarua people, this thing just fills you up.
Yep.
Now,
It does.
let's move to beans. Imagine,
That's all it does is fill you up. And you think you're full, but you're not. You're starving. Wouldn't eat it alone. I mean, people eat it with meat, right?
I don't feel like putting them on the table. Let me just put them aside because me I divorced warus.
You simply just do not need these foods if you eat natural animal products the way they're meant to be eaten. You don't need any of this stuff.
Let's move to beans. Maragwe. You know, Africa had our own beans, right? Long before this maharagwe came, we had kunde, but here I have mbazi, and we also had njugumawe or okpa or bambara groundnuts. These were very tough crops that thrived in poor soils and harsh seasons, giving families steady food when other crops failed. Now, in terms of nutrients, they were very...
Why do you need to farm and eat crops? It's a European thing, and it trickled down to the Europeans. Down to the Africans. The Europeans introduced farming to these poor Africans. They never farmed. The majority of Africans, when you go there, a lot of them, they just live off the land. They eat animals, man. They don't want to farm. Farming is a European thing. It's stupid. It's just business, marketing, whatever, man. It's just something you're doing to make money, which money doesn't exist. That's why when people say, when you hear these guys like Godis and all these other people, when they say money doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. They have to make it exist by doing what? Creating all these things, these fake things, which don't exist. Get it? So money doesn't exist. But they make it exist by creating all these fake things out of these things, which, again, don't exist really in the natural world. So they create unnatural things to make unnatural money exist. Get it? Make you rely on this stuff, making you think that you need this, when in fact you don't need any of this. You don't need anything that the government gives you. Nothing. You just need the land and animals. You live off the land and the animals. It's free. There isn't any taxes out there. There isn't any money. There's nothing. This is just all bullshit.
Stronger. Kunde carried more protein
Make you stronger.
than maragwe. And even its leaves, I think we have the kunde leaves here.
It's great. It's crazy how these people, they're living with nutrient deficiency, but they're looking for nutrients to fill this void of deficiency. Oh, this one has more protein. Oh, this has some nutrients in it. But guess what? You don't have to look for any of these things in any plants, because meat is not deficient in any nutrient. Get it? Everything is there that you need. This stuff will always be deficient, regardless. What are you doing here? And you can't digest fiber. So there you go.
Yeah. These leaves here added vitamins. Mbaazi here.
If you're parenting a neurodivergent child,
Leaves here added vitamins. Mbaazi here
What vitamins? They're anti-nutrients.
was rich in protein, fiber, and also minerals, and survived droughts. Now, njugumawe, I could not find that, was so balanced in protein, carbohydrates, and fats that it was called the poor man's meat.
Yeah, there you go.
Kula nyama.
There you go, the poor man's meat. They can't afford to eat meat, so they eat this crap. Yeah.
Guys, this thing is funny. They even called it the poor man's meat. You see, now this maragwe that was brought from South America by Portuguese traders spread quickly because it cooked faster and gave good harvest. Have you ever seen how people talk about mbaazi? To me, I can't boil mbaazi, they take forever. Now, can you imagine getting a substitute for maragwe? This one cooks faster.
Can you imagine all these farms making all these different things, man? Fuck, they must just be destroying the planet.
But it doesn't mean it's
And
superior.
then they feed it to animals, livestock, they feed it to you. Fucking man, it's gross.
This was pushed by colonizers, while our own beans, which were rich, tougher, and more complete, were downgraded as poor man's food. Now, in truth, these indigenous beans were the real superfoods that carried Africa through famine and drought. Now, wait, you will see them somewhere in London, going for maybe 20 pounds a kilo, labeled what? Superfood. Now, across the continent, Africa is facing a silent epidemic of non-communicable diseases. You know, we have the hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases, and obesity.
Well, that's just like North America. They're suffering for all these too. That's the downfall, the beginning of the downfall of society. Because they're starting to eat this all year round, not just seasonally. Yeah.
Unlike infectious diseases, these ones don't just spread from person to person. Instead,
This is like a bad rash that won't go away. This food won't go away. They just can't stop eating the slave food diet. We're in the 21st century. You know, they say there's no more slavery. Well, if there's no more slavery, why are you still eating the slave food peasant diet?
creep in through our diets, our lifestyles, and the foods we eat every single day. And guys, as I come,
Why are people still poisoning themselves with the peasant slave food diet if slavery doesn't exist anymore? None of this makes fucking sense, man.
and teach you these things, trust me, I am also making sure that whatever I'm consuming is well informed. Let me see.
Well informed? Anything you're consuming is well informed? You're well informed right now. Why are you consuming that food? You should be eating meat. Stop eating that peasant slave food.
My juice because I never thought I would be drinking these things.
Don't drink that. Don't drink that. It's full of oxalates.
Example, national.
And it's processed now. You processed it because you blended it. So the concentration is going to be so much higher than it would be if you chewed on it.
Surveys show that about 24 to 29% of adults in Kenya are hypertensive. And that could be me and you, which translates to roughly 3 out of every 10 people. Now, diabetes, where less common, affects about 2% of the adult population, around 1 in every 50 Kenyans. But before colonialism,
and it's rising.
African communities thrived on a rich diversity of indigenous foods. We are talking about the millets, the sorghums, right?
What about meat? Why don't you talk about meat? Where do they eat meat? Do they eat meat or are they just eating these plants and dying? What's going on here exactly?
The yams, our own.
You can't survive on this food for very long. You'll die. Like she said, they ate maize and then they died.
Beans, the mbaazi's, leafy vegetables. We are talking about our managu, the pumpkin leaves. We have so many here, the saga.
How do you get yours?
Here, the saga.
Yeah, I've seen markets in Africa, what they look like, watching Kino Eves. He goes through these markets and he films them, sure, because he's traveling through Africa.
These ones were very, very, very high in fiber. Okay, slow digestion.
I've seen them buying like vanilla one time. They had them. We bought those. Yeah. Vanilla's toxic, dude.
And very nutrient rich. They protected the body, kept energy levels balanced, and rarely led to lifestyle diseases. But you see, now came the colonial era. European settlers introduced these things, the maize, the polished rice, Irish potatoes, all these starchy foods that could be grown in bulk to feed laborers and soldiers. I'm sure at the back of their houses, they were eating something else very different. These crops
I want to know what they were eating. Meat. That's what they were eating in the back of their houses.
not introduced for African health. They did not care about you.
Of course
This
not.
was for colonial
They don't care about you. Nobody does. Only you care about yourself.
convenience and control. Over time, what have these foods done? They have created over dependency, displacing indigenous foods. Now, take the case of central Kenya, where I come from. Here, warus, these warus are more than just food. This is a cultural identity. I mean, that is why you'll hear people saying, watu wa central anapenda
I
waru.
love this. A cultural identity. You identify with eating slave food? What about meat?
Wekwe soup. Meal without potatoes feels incomplete. And then you mix that with maize. You do the mukimu thing. And if you are not doing that, you are doing ugali.
This is great for chemotherapy, man. The toxins in there. I don't know what's going on here.
And then rice. Rice has become a symbol of luxury, a symbol of celebration.
What?
I mean, Sundays, I remember it was a big deal, houses cooking rice or chapatis, because this is a symbol of us celebrating how
Look, I'm not Asian, so I don't eat rice, okay? But whatever.
good the week had been.
But then again, you know, people have been brainwashed into eating rice, but whatever.
Reward ourselves with some rice or some chapatis. But this heavy reliance on starch food that are very low in nutrient has come with a cost. And you can see the cost is those non-communicable diseases.
Yeah, that's the cost. When you sin against nature, when you violate the laws of nature, that's the cost. You pay the price. Nature will punish you. It will punish you for eating those foods with disease, riddle you with disease and a bunch of things. But if you want to be rewarded by nature, you should eat your natural diet, raw animal, carnivore animal diet, yes, and you'll be rewarded with good health.
You know, sometimes as we were setting this up, Muga said, by the way, now, you know, our grandparents used to eat these things, and it was even hard because we could not even figure out which was which because of how rare we see these things. So you can imagine, these are foods that our ancestors thrived on. Now, we can barely even recognize them.
Yeah.
Let's go to coffee. Yes, I had coffee here from the word go because unlike people who claim coffee is theirs,
Coffee, one of the most toxic drinks in the world. Coffee.
coffee is very, very African. But I'll let you know why we are touching on it.
Okay.
These are coffee beans. There's a reason we also made sure we brought in coffee beans because
They have all kinds of coffee beans they grow in Africa. They're a big exporter of coffee. Yeah.
this is what we actually export. And then they do what they do best. They package it and we buy it again. Coffee here was born in Ethiopia, in Kaffa. Yes. You hear coffee, Kaffa. That's literally where the word comes from. Our ancestors in Ethiopia did not commercialize it. You know, its use was very simple. They used it for health, energy, and it was also ceremonial. The Oromo mixed these coffee beans with fat for long journeys. Others brewed it slowly for spiritual rituals. Coffee was very sacred. But once Arabs carried the seeds to Yemen and Europeans discovered the drink, coffee stopped being culture and became cash. By the late 1800s, colonial governments in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi forced Africans to grow it under brutal taxes and restrictions. In Kenya, Africans were banned from growing coffee for themselves. It was reserved for white settlers. The best highlands were fenced off as white highlands. You know that, guys. Yep. Africans were pushed onto rocky soils, left with maize to survive. See the irony? They push you where you can easily grow this crap for you to survive. Then they make sure that you are helping them grow this so that they can cash on it. How did our ancestors survive these people? Huh?
I don't know.
How did they survive, these people?
They had to eat meat, probably raw milk, maybe cow milk. Who knows? But yeah, it's incredible how they survived.
And then, we can't talk about coffee without talking about tea. Because coffee and tea, especially here, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Tea was brought to Kenya in 1903 by the British.
What was so appealing about using crunch time for labor?
Yeah, they go hand in hand. Tea was brought to Kenya in 1903 by the British, planted on stolen land, grown by African labor. It was not for us, it was for Britain's tea obsession. You know how they call it, the high tea? Guys, when you go celebrating these things, know what you're also celebrating. It's a learning session here. It was for Britain's obsession. Now, a century later, Kenya is the third largest tea exporter in the world, yet the wealth sits in European trading houses. Please, when we were in school and we were talking about how Kenya is good coffee and tea, I always thought the money was ours. But the money was never ours, because if the money was ours, my grandpa had a coffee farm. Please, show me where it went. All those people who have tea farms right now, majority of them live in poverty. And then it doesn't help that some of these colonial structures still exist. You pass near major tea farms and you see those houses and you are traumatized. I think we should actually start a petition to remove those colonial structures from the tea and coffee farms. They are very traumatizing, considering some of the things that happened to our ancestors in those places. Whether it was our own coffee or imported tea, the story is just the same. Even if I talk about another thing, the story is just the same. Africans, we were growing it. Europe will drink it, and the profits will never stay here in Africa. It stays there. The story of coffee for me is very painful, considering I have even documented a story. I think I'm going to put it for you on the description, where this family actually grows coffee, but they were actually telling us, Lynn, coffee is not for us. Because even the limitations, the strictness in how coffee, what happens to coffee, not the coffee beans or the roasted beans. I think that's where our story ends. The strict laws around you even grinding it so that you can package it here and sell for yourself. That's a crazy story. I'll briefly touch on cotton and tobacco, because cotton, again, was never about feeding Africa. It was about feeding Manchester's textile mills. Colonial officers forced its cultivation across West Africa, Sudan, and Uganda.
Wow, that's crazy.
Families had to choose. You either grow food to survive or grow cotton to pay colonial taxes. Many chose cotton, and famines followed. Now, tobacco came from the Americans, but colonizers planted it
Again, that doesn't make sense. And famine followed. They grew cotton, famine followed. Where's the animals? Humans eat meat. Where are the animals? Like, what's going on here exactly?
Massive estates in Zimbabwe, Malawi, and South Africa.
These colonizers want these Africans to bleed these Africans, right? Slave them to work. But at the same time, they want them to die. You want to lose your slave. You want to lose your workforce by destroying them. They die eating this food. None of that makes that stuff just doesn't make sense. I don't get it, but whatever.
Africans were pulled into grueling labor. The product, cigarettes. Tobacco did not
These colonizers are crazy, but whatever.
feed a soul. It built addictions, diseases, and profits for European companies. But cotton and tobacco did something very dangerous in Africa. They stole land from food crops.
Yeah.
Our best soils were turned into food.
Yeah, but that would force you to eat animals then, because you're not eating any more slave food. So how could you die of a deficiency in food or something? Eat animals, man. Fuck. That would drive you back to eating your natural diet, raw animal food.
For Europe's factories and vices, while Africans starved. But now, the foods once mocked.
How did these other villages avoid these colonizers? The ones where, if you go now, you see these people, they live primitively in Africa. They run around with spears and stuff. How did they avoid being slaved by these colonizers? I don't get it. There's a lot of them in Africa, but they haven't been slaved. Why?
Let me first remove here what shouldn't be on this table. You rice, go away. You are not even pretty. Yeah, give me manago, Scholar. Scholar is reminding me manago belongs here. A lot of it. Yeah, these foods here, once smoked as weeds, or poor man's food, or smelly, are finally getting the recognition they deserve. And guys, I need us to walk this journey together. Take what you can for yourself. Here you have millet, 3 to 4 times more iron than maize. Very drought resistant. You get it? Let's walk this journey together. You have sorghum, a gluten-free, ancient grain. You know now they're calling them ancient grains? Very perfect for diabetes and drought. Then you have fonio. Unfortunately, we could not get fonio. Fonio matures in 6 weeks and grows in poor soils, very rich in calcium and vitamin C. Then you have Teflon Don. Tef, guys, Tef. Very high in protein and lysine for muscle health. Then you have my powder here, moringa. This is the miracle tree. This one has vitamin A, calcium, potassium, and very complete in protein. No matter how. One can't get high on my own supply. Scratch that, Wakabi. Don't put it. No, scratch that. Scratch that. I just said my own because this is all my food. Don't worry where I'm touching it. My hands are very clean. Then you have Hoodia. That was the sun survival cactus, which was later hijacked as a $1 billion weight loss pill. Then baobab, which is 6 times more vitamin C than oranges. Did you know that? Did you know baobab is actually 6 times more vitamin C than oranges? Now they are selling it as a superfruit in Europe. Superfruit in Europe. Then you have the tereres. I have the tereres here. A lot of things here.
Tired of overpaying for flights? With Fair Scraper, you can save up to 60%.
Here. A lot of things here. These ones are packed with iron and folate, but they were dismissed as weeds. I mean, guys, when you see these things growing, you see weeds, right? I mean, we would step on them. These things, all of these, the sagas, the tereres, the managus, everything, we used to step on these things. Because as we needed posh things like rice, what are you telling us? They were called unsafe weeds. And then you have, where is the saga? I mixed them up. Yeah, right? Then you have saga here, spider, this saga. It's very bitter, but it's very rich in beta carotene, calcium, and also it's an immunity booster. So when you are making your smoothie, make sure that you also blend together. Kundes, our kundes, right? You have them here. High in folate, iron, and vitamin C, and very perfect for protein balance. Then you have pumpkin, yes, pumpkin leaves. Okay, did you have pumpkin leaves and seeds? You know, us all we had was pumpkin. Actually, we used to throw the seeds. Did anyone have pumpkin seeds here? Anyone ever eat? No. You see now, this like the whole thing. You have the seeds, the leaves, and the fruit itself. They're very good for immunity and men's health. So, men, I got you covered. If you need some of health, blend this.
Again, I don't know why she keeps talking about health. These plants are not healthy for you. She just said everything she mentioned in her videos was that all of these things are unhealthy. She proved that they're unhealthy with the disease and all these things that they cause. Yet she says health. She's using health.
Or fry them. You know?
Try them.
True African yams, the ones we could
She even drank that drink. That drink is unhealthy. This is funny though, but okay.
not get here. They are very high in
Yeah.
potassium and also very cultural to us. These foods never betrayed us. They kept our ancestors alive through droughts, wars, and famine. They were mocked out of our kitchens, and now the West sells them back to us in fancy packaging we can barely afford. I mean, wait till you see how moringa is packaged and then shipped back to you guys. Shipped back to you guys so that you can be able. Let me tell you guys, these people maximize on packaging. They make sure they get it from here, but they go and maximize the packaging. Let no one tell you that this coffee, by the way, once it's grinded, refined, and mixed, they will package it and you will buy this thing for almost 3,000 a kilo. And we move now to something very painful, patents and profits. Mocking our foods was only the opening act. It was only the opening act. Once the world realized their true value, because this is full of value, the mission shifted to ownership and profit, and I'm going to prove it to you. TEF. We have TEF here. In the 2000s, can you imagine? A Dutch entrepreneur patented Ethiopian TEF, the flour, and baked goods in Europe. Ethiopia, the birthplace of TEF, saw nothing. It's only later that courts struck down the patents, but the money was already gone. Can you imagine how big?
You know what's going to happen here? This is just going to get worse and worse. This is worse than a pandemic. Oh, what am I talking about? This is a pandemic, man. All of this food and the vegan diets and everything is a pandemic. Man, it's just something really bad waiting to happen.
Dare you patent TEF flour? How dare you? Then Hoodia.
Wow.
Hoodia, we spoke about it.
Yeah.
But it was patented by South Africa's Research Council, then licensed to Pfizer, hyped as $1 billion.
I love this. To suppress your appetite. That's just crazy. To suppress your appetite so you could starve and die. Get it? On the slave food diet. So you can't stop eating the slave food diet because you're starving. So you consume a lot. That's what happens. That's why people get fat. They're malnourished, so they eat this slave food and they keep consuming it because your body will not stop. You keep consuming it because your body's only interested in nutrients. So you're deficient, you're not getting nutrients, and then you just keep getting fatter and fatter. You just keep consuming more and more and more and more and more. And what do? They make this drug out of this. It's called like suppress your appetite. So you suppress your appetite, and guess what happens? So you stop eating the slave food, you lack nutrients, and then you die. Get it? A starvation. You literally are dying of starvation. That's what obesity is. You're dying. You're starving. Really.
A drug. The San people who had used it for centuries to suppress hunger were ignored. But it's only after global outrage did they get a 6% royalty deal. Wow. But again, they said the drug failed in trials. And now when you even go to Wikipedia, they will tell you along the lines, I saw it was marketed as fake. But the Sun used it for centuries to suppress hunger. But when they realize now people are catching up with you, the natives are catching up with you, they start now calling it fake. How dare you call what our ancestors used for centuries to suppress their own hunger? Exactly. They did not want to pay the 6% royalty. As Joshua is saying, that's a fact. Yeah, there's another one called Rooibos. For decades, companies tried to trademark South Africa's red tea. I know if you're watching this from South Africa, you are familiar. In 2019, a deal finally recognized the Khoi and San as custodians of this red tea, giving them 1.5% of the farm gate price. Yeah, this was a very small victory, but a rare one. At least now, opening their eyes to so many Africans that this is ours. Then you have Devil's Claw. You see how they name these things? Devil's Claw. It was used in Namibia and Botswana for healing, turned into a booming European herbal industry. Only in 2022 did Namibia force benefit sharing agreements. By the way, pay key attention to the names they call these things. Because they want us to know the connotation, devil and Africans. Even Africans will just look at it and say, this is the devil, I cannot drink or eat it. But then they are secretly harvesting it and making their own things and then repackaging it and then selling it back to Africa. Now, let's take a look at baobab, which was approved as a novel food in the European Union in 2008. Foreign farms rushed to dominate the supply chain. African producers are still getting pennies compared to the profits abroad. Every time Africa's knowledge proves valuable, someone else patents it, trademarks it, or even takes control of the supply chain. You know, sometimes we fight back and win a couple of small battles, but the bigger war, we are definitely still losing. Now let's take a look at the root of it all. The thread running through all of this is land. Colonialism was not just about borders or flags. It was about who controls the soil and what grows in it. Who controls the soil and what grows in it. That is why you guys are not even familiar with majority of
Who controls the food controls the people. Yeah.
these things here. Because again, as we said, the best lands were fenced off. Kenya's White Highlands were for settlers. There you get your best coffee and tea. Zimbabwe's estates were for tobacco.
That's where you get your best coffee and tea. Coffee and tea is slave food still. It's still garbage. There isn't any best coffee or tea. It's all shit. She's making a comparison between these slave foods. They're all the same. They're garbage. They're just peasant slave food.
West African fields for cocoa and cotton. Can you hear anything African about those things? The only thing that was African was actually coffee, but have we identified coffee? The end product is never with us as Africans. Africans were pushed to marginal soils, told to abandon our own foods here, and forced into cash crop economies. Then independence came and someone will be like, okay, but you know, the guys did not colonize you guys forever, so why could you not go back to your own foods? Where? Kwanzaa, did we ever receive that independence? Because you have independence, but the system stayed the same.
Exactly. There's no more slaves anymore. So why are people still eating these foods? I don't understand. There's meat. It's available in every market. Eat meat. Stop eating the slave food diet.
You have governments that still rely on export crops to earn foreign exchange. I mean, if you listen to our presidents before Ruto and the previous presidents, you will hear them saying how much we are getting from coffee and tea, as if this is supposed to be our pride. But this is not our pride.
Okay, if you're growing it to sell to the West and you're making money, so why aren't you taking your money and eating meat? Get it? Forget about the West. Let them poison themselves. And the Europeans. You take the money and buy real food, meat.
This is the pride of the corrupt and the pride of global north. This has nothing to do with us as Africans.
Eat that food.
International lenders.
Listen, nobody's forcing these people to eat this food anymore. You don't have to eat it. In your market, there's lots of meat. Go eat some meat. You don't have to eat that shit. Export it. Send it somewhere else.
And trade deals keep Africa stuck in the same role. Grow for Europe and America, import what we eat. As Africans, we are just growing for them, but we keep importing what we eat. We cannot even sustain our own population when it comes to maize and even rice. We cannot sustain. We have to keep importing from them.
Why?
And that is why Africa exports cocoa.
That makes no sense. Oh, we have to keep importing from them to sustain. Sustain what? Eat meat. You don't need to eat this slave food diet anymore. You are not slaves anymore. Get it?
But you buy chocolate. We export tea leaves, but we import tea bags.
Why do you need tea? Why do you need these plants? Give me one reason why you need to eat them. Why aren't you eating animal products? Makes no sense. It's like here in North America, people still eat slave food diet. If they see me in nations eating like raw salmon. I'm at the table, I go buy some raw salmon, I cut it up and I eat it. They all look at me kind of weird, like, what am I doing there? In the back of their mind, they're not even thinking about, like, look, I'm not a slave, I'm eating real food. It's healthier, it's better for me, a bunch of stuff. They're just like looking over and eating their slave food. They're looking at me staring at. See, for them, this is unusual because why aren't you eating our slave food too and becoming a mummy like us, looking like a sick mummy like all of us and losing your teeth? Because I don't want to, that's why. See, you get these fucking people everywhere you go, they look over at you. Why aren't you eating the slave food too and dying like the rest of them? Because I don't want to, I choose not to. Because I'm not a slave, that's why. It's just, again, it's like this lady, she's asking on this channel, why aren't you vegan yet? Because I'm not a slave, that's why. Get it? Slaves are vegans.
No maize, but still beg for maize aid. Have you ever wondered why, by the way, in Africa we keep growing a lot of maize and then when it's time for aid and droughts, we are happy when we see sacks of maize coming to us through aid.
Through aid?
What is up, everybody?
Here's the truth. The foods that carried us through famine and drought were never poor. These foods were very powerful. These foods were life. The world mocked them and then rebranded them and now sells the same food back to us with a markup. And it's not just a slight markup, a crazy markup.
Yeah, so why eat it? A crazy markup. So eat meat. It's not marked up, it's cheap.
Meanwhile,
meat's cheap because the animals, they eat off the land. It's free. So it's cheaper.
the crops that were forced onto us, maize, white rice, cotton, tobacco.
Yeah, because that's so labor intensive. So all the cost has to be thrown in there. It's very labor intensive to farm this, to grow it, a bunch of stuff. It's garbage. And in the end, it's all for nothing. It's garbage to destroy your health, to destroy you, and age the shit out of you.
Leaving us hungry and very dependent.
Yeah.
And sick.
Why do you think violence is prominent in all these countries now? Violence, because people are starving. When people starve, they're prone to committing violence, but they'll justify it. Your government will justify it by saying, "Oh, they're just crazy. They're crazy people and all that kind of stuff." They're not crazy. They know exactly what they're doing. They're starving. That's why they're doing that. They're not crazy. They're starving.
And starchy with vitamins. Everything bad.
What vitamins? There's no vitamins in there. There's no vitamins. They're starchy, yeah.
Bad. If Africa doesn't reclaim our own foods, someone else will, and they've started reclaiming our food and patenting. And when these people continue owning our food, they will continue owning our future. Because food is...
that's right. That's how they control you. They know that. That's why they keep you hooked up on these foods, addicted to them. They're feeding your addiction.
It's not just what you eat. Food is power.
Yeah.
And until Africa controls her plate or what is in our table, Africa will never control our destiny. As Africans, we are never going to control our destiny if we cannot control what's on our tables. And guys, I'm telling you this, wait till you see me glowing here, because me, I've taken control of my health. I will not be lied to anymore. I don't want to see maize. I don't want to see rice. Waru, don't want to see. I don't care how crazy the cravings can get. I'm not
smart. What cravings? Eat meat. You won't have any cravings. Forget the cravings. You'll forget about that stuff.
Interested. Actually, I think I'm going to look for sweet corn so that I feel the luxury of eating this while they bring for us things they give their own animals. I don't want to feel like I'm European. I just want to feel like I have some power. Like I have some power in me. But for now, guys, let me go wash my managus and my vegetables. Make a good meal out of this, right? Look for where I can grind my coffee beans. Go and fry my pumpkin seeds here. Boil my mbaazi.
Scholar. Be eating any seeds at all.
Those maharagues are not for our table. Go and boil my mbaazi. See where I can be able to also grind my teff, my sorghum and millet. Then I'll come later and I'll tell you how the diet
Why do you have to soak that? Because of the oxalates. It'll poison you. You could die.
was, guys. I know it's not an easy road, but look at it. We are struggling with so many health-related diseases, and I'm gonna tell
Yeah,
you.
you're struggling with so many health diseases, and you're contributing to it by eating this food. Get it? Because you just said it's the cause of it. So why would you continue eating that stuff if that is the cause of disease? You want to create disease? Eat this food. Yeah. It's very simple, man. It's not hard to understand this stuff. Vegan people, though, they don't understand that at all.
I'm not saying that I'm perfect now because I'm aware of what I'm eating. It's a journey, but we have to acknowledge that this was never poor man's food. You know, that thing grew to us that even when you would see your neighbors not eating rice, you would think of them as very poor. Hamkuli chapati kwenye mkula.
So if I don't eat rice and I eat meat, I'm considered very poor. Oh, thank God. Okay. I love it.
Chapati.
Welcome to Prince George.
We are learning, unlearning, and doing what? And relearning. Now, when someone asks, kwenye mkuli chapati should not be luxury, that is ignorance of the highest order. But I really want you guys to tell me what your take home has been from all this. These conversations are very necessary. Yeah. And when you go deep, that is why now you realize why the control on our indigenous food is very crazy. Everyone wants to control what we are eating. That is why they are busy introducing these whole GMO things, because they know they do not want you to go back and grow in what is drought resistant. You know, when you go back and you look at it, we were meant to survive. But then we were not even meant to survive. We were meant to live this life so beautifully. Yeah. Because everything we needed, the Creator had already provided.
Yeah. The Creator had already provided everything you needed. Animals. The animals eat the plants, and we eat the animals. That's why we're healthy.
Had already provided.
We're not made to work. We're not made to farm or work or do any of these things. No animal is.
And you can imagine, even if I was to take some of these things down and add the rice and the flour here and the maize, you see the whiteness. You remember when we spoke about the psychology of colors? And now people will not even eat ugali if it looks a bit brownish. They want the pure white. That is actually how controlled we've been, and it's time for us to stop. It's time for us to go back to our normal brown ugali. There are some communities that I really admire from Kenya, the communities that stuck to the managus.
This is horrible. She still hasn't learned her lesson. She still wants to promote this ugly food, this fake stuff. Okay.
The kundes and everything. Man, you knew where the juice was at. You knew. But then psychologically, some of us were, like, we saw that as such a bad thing. That was poor. That was poor man's food. Yeah, I know who is laughing now, of course you, but I hope we can be able to educate the rest of the generations to come that there was beauty in this table. Everything here was meant
There's no beauty there at all whatsoever. That food is made to destroy people.
To work for us and not against us. And
it was made to work against you, not to work for you. None of it was. None of it.
I'm going to pose a challenge to you because there are so many foods that we've left out.
But those are not human foods. They're not to be consumed by humans.
I want you to take your time and look at what is in your plate right now, and then do the homework of finding out where is the origin of this and how did it get to me?
Yeah.
How did it get to me? Because now, you see how expensive organic foods are? But these were organic.
That's a scam as well by the industry. Organic. It's all organic. It all comes from the ground. How can it not be organic?
From the word go. So I want you to take a look at what you're consuming right now and tell me on the comment section what has been the wake-up call for you. Something you love eating, even if it's avocado. Ebu, let me see let's have fun on the comment section. Each of us, let's try and post something that we thought was even ours, or something that we've discovered, the history of that thing. Let's put it on the comment section so that others can be able to learn. But I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is our new learning and relearning. And if I just say how amazed I am at the feedback that you guys are giving our videos. Some of you will think this is a flex, but it's been like, it has really humbled me, and it has really also warmed my heart. Just in that I was not the only person hungry for this kind of content. Yeah, just like you, I miss our one-on-one interviews, but they will come at their own given time. Creatively, I just feel like this is what I want to do right now. And I appreciate everyone that is commenting and saying, this has been very educative for me. So
It is. I think that Africans should stop eating that food. That is my recommendation.
that's the goal. We continue doing what?
You don't have to eat that food anymore and suffer. Why are you suffering? You're not slaves anymore. Eat meat.
And learning and relearning. Share your thoughts on the comment section.
Learning and relearning. You need to unlearn everything that you've learned. Wow.
Support independent journalism by subscribing, commenting, and liking.
I have.
And guys, make sure you like this video. Above all things, it really helps, favors us in the algorithm, really helps. But if you want to contribute towards our work, we have an M-Pesa number on your screen. Please feel free to send whatever you can. There's also a pay bill number. We also have super thanks on YouTube. It's right there. Yeah, I saw some of you playing around with. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. But we also have super thanks, and we also have our PayPal. So, guys, we really do appreciate the support. That's it from me. Reach us through info@lnn.digital. And I hope we see each other again tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. A special shout out to the research team behind this work. This is not me alone. This takes an entire community. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you so much, EJ. Thank you so much to the team that gets to film this. Kola Muga, we really do appreciate you. Our editors, Sam and Wakabi, appreciated. And also the people that make sure LNN keeps running. Our business team, Joshua, Valerie, and Mutange, appreciate you. Yeah. You gotta believe I have also to requisition for some of these things from someone. So thank you, Valerie, for being very kind to us this time. See you guys.
That was a great video, man. Anyways, friends, tell what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Then you probably want to go over to her and help her out. Subscribe. See you later. That's a great video.